He's the best pup, so he's a ball pup too sometimes. Good boy, Happy. He's the best boy. Welcome back to the van build. On this episode I'm going to be talking about gas and getting your gas install certified. When I went to get insured on the van, they wanted an RGI certificate for the gas install, so that was just to make sure that the gas install was safe and there was going to be no leaks with the gas install. Obviously you're going to be using the camper and sleeping in the camper, so they don't want any gas leaking and want to make sure that it's up to a professional standard. In Ireland you go on the RGI website, which is the Registered Gas Installer website, and you search for LAV, which is like a locomotive, automotive vehicle, something, and it's specifically, you're looking for plumbers that are registered and are qualified to do this type of work. So it's like for mobile homes and caravans and that kind of stuff. So I went on their website, I searched for people locally in my area, I rang a few people, and when I talked to them on the phone and I explained to them that I was converting a camper and I installed the gas tank myself, they said, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, I installed it myself." Their reply was, "Well, you'll have to take it out because no one will certify that." So I was getting kind of worried and thinking maybe I should have got someone to install it. So then I went on some forums and some groups on social media and I asked, does anyone have any information around getting your gas tank certified by an RGI installer? From my research, what I found out is it's a very grey area. A lot of plumbers will not want to go near a van conversion where someone has installed their own gas tank, and that's because they want to be able to sign off on it to say that they've done every piece of the work themselves, so then they know. Other plumbers might be happy with you installing it, but they'll want to check that all the copper fittings are actually fitting okay and that there's no leaks with regards to connections. So it's different for different plumbers. I found a company in the west of Ireland that were willing to do it, but they were like 2.5 hours away from me, so I didn't want to travel all the ways up there and then have some issue with the van, travel back down and up and down and up and down. So I wanted to get someone close to me. I managed to find someone locally and they were only an hour away from me, so that was a lot easier and I got the van certified. But that was after a lot of back and forth and I had to change some things with regards the gas install, and in this video I'm going to show you what I need to change in order to get that RGI cert, so then I can get insured in the van. Luckily enough, the insurance company were good enough and kind enough to insure me while I get this RGI cert. Right, so now that I've finished all that waffle, let's head out to the shed, grab those tools, and I will show you exactly what I need to do in order to get this RGI cert. Unfortunately, I messed up the sound for this vlog, so here I'm just explaining that I have to move these switches from this side panel and then I have to put them to the end of this unit, and I also have to move the 2-gang switch that's at the bottom of that panel to the end of the unit, and that's because they're too close, especially the 2-gang switch, they're too close to the 2-burner hobs. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to label all the wires that I'm going to take out from the side panel. I've already labelled the wires going back into the fuse box at the back of the van, but these wires here coming out of the 5-gang switch aren't labelled, so it's important that I label all these, so if I ever need to take them out like I'm taking them out right now, that I will know exactly where they're going to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head up to my local DIY store, grab some labels, label all those cables, and then that'll make it a lot easier. This is the LPG tank, the indicator for how empty and how full it is. So what I'm going to do is snip these, because this one runs out down through the van and it connects onto the LPG tank underneath the van, and then this red one is supposed to go to your batteries in the back, your fuse box in the back. So we have the black is to black, and then green is to white. So I'm going to snip them, and the reason I'm saying it and recording it is because then I can look back and reconnect them. The black to black, then white to green. The next thing to do is to remove the side panel, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the cutouts that I previously did on that panel up there at the back of the shower. I'm going to use that panel to then create the cutouts on this panel here, and then that will allow me to slot in the 5-gang switch panel and the other switches and the Trumer boiler heater switches onto this side panel here. I now have the new side panel installed, and the next thing to do that I was told I needed was a heat shield. So I need a heat shield that runs along here, and then a heat shield that runs along the back, because this 2-burner hob is quite close to the side and the back and it needs to be protected. So what I've done is, these are the heat shields that I have. It's stainless steel, I think. Yeah, stainless steel. As you can see the back of it. And what I've just discovered is that this back one fits just fine. Like so. That back one slots in there. And that's going to fit just perfect, but this side one is, because there's a curve, because the van is curved, the back wall is curved, you can see that there's a gap there. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to scribe that heat shield that runs into the side wall here, and I'm going to get my scribe tool for that, and I'm going to get a marker, and I'm going to scribe it out, and then on Monday morning, it's now Saturday, so on Monday I'll go back to that company and see if they'll recut the scribed heat shield that I'm going to scribe now. And that was actually one thing they asked me, was they said, will we make it as one piece and just bend it? And I'm lucky that another guy said, but would the wall not be curved? So they said, yeah, they're better off to give it to me in 2 sections, but I forgot that this would need to be scribed into the back wall. So I'm going to get my scribe tool, scribe that, then I'll secure this back one to the wall, and then on Monday we can bring this in, get it recut, and it should be good to go then. Right, so that heat shield is now scribed, and I have one more heat shield to stick on, and that is just under here. So it's gonna go on like that. That will be protected from any heat that rises up from the 2-burner hob. Under there I have to remove this LED light because I have an LED strip light running all the ways around under that. So I'm going to get this, I've got to figure a way to keep that up while it's actually curing, while the adhesive is curing. So what I'm going to use is this. So I'm going to use that fire cement, and it's good for temperatures, and yeah, I think it's the right stuff to use. So what I've got to do is I'll cut 2 pieces of timber, the height from the countertop to the underside of the cupboard, to keep that up, and so that will allow it to cure and it'll stick on to the underside of the cupboard, I hope. Alright, so I'm going to remove that LED light and then get this stuck on. I now have that heat shield on under the cupboard, and it's been held up with the 2 pieces of wood. Hopefully that will stick, and we'll come back and check it tomorrow. So the next one I'm going to do is I'm going to do this back one here on the back wall. It's the next morning, and I'm now going to remove these support blocks, and hopefully this heat shield will have stuck to the underside of the cupboard. So fingers crossed it works. I'm not entirely happy with how this is stuck. It's as you can see, there's a bit of a gap here at the front. What I'll do is I'm going to stick some more of the fire cement in there, and then I'll prop that back up, and I'll leave that there overnight, and hopefully that will stick. The back of it is fine, no problems there, it's all stuck. It's just this front bit here, look. So what I've done is I've just put back in the supports, and I'm going to leave it another 24 hours because I think it takes 48 hours to set fully. So give it another 24 hours and that'll cure, and it should be stuck in place by then. I'm going to fill some areas on this side panel, then give that a sand, and then give it a few coats of paint. Then once I have that done, it'll all be ready to go for tomorrow when I get the heat shield cut, and then I can install that. So let's get cracking on this and get it finished. It's the next day, and now I'm going to remove these supports, and hopefully that heat shield will have stayed in place. So let's remove those supports and hopefully it'll work. I now have all the heat shields installed, and that is one job ticked off the list. So I have that heat shield under the cupboard, and then I have the heat shield on the side wall here and the heat shield on the back wall. So that means that any heat coming from this 2-burner hob won't be heating up any of the surfaces. That's the reason a lot of people put them beside the door. So when you put them beside the door, you don't need to put in these heat shields. But if you're putting it on this side of the van, then you're going to need to put the heat shields in against the back wall, or maybe the side wall if you've got a side wall. So now the next thing to do is to go under the van, and I'm going to explain what I need to get done under the van. I'm going to get a company that does this type of work on a regular basis, and they can do it within a matter of days, and I can get it done to a really high standard. I could do it myself, but again, it's going to take me a lot longer and I've never done it, so I just want to get this done as fast as I can, then get the RGI cert. So let's head under the van and I will explain to you what I need to get done under the van in order to get the RGI cert.
So here we go, we're sliding under the van, and under the van you can see the regulator there, and then connected to the regulator is the pigtail hose. Now that pigtail hose is a flapping and a flipping, so what I was told to do by the plumber, I must secure that hose to the side of the van, because if I don't, over time that will wear and tear due to the flipping and the flapping of the pigtail hose, and then this could cause a leak. So what I'm going to use is a copper clip to secure that to the side of the van. So let's secure that to the side of the van and I will show you the finished result.
That's the copper fitting that I've used to fix the pigtail to the side of the van, and as you can see I've used a bit of heat shrink just to protect the pigtail. That is now secured to the side of the van, so it's not going to flap around.
So what you're looking at here is the exhaust pipe running parallel to the LPG tank under the van, and what I've got to do here is install a heat shield between the exhaust pipe and the LPG tank. That will protect the LPG tank from any heat radiating from the exhaust pipe. That heat shield will connect to the center beam that runs down between the exhaust pipe and the LPG tank. Another thing I have to do is I have to extend the exhaust pipe 700mm past the end of the LPG tank, and again this is to protect the LPG tank from any heat radiating from the exhaust pipe. These two jobs will be done by a local company that specialise in this type of work.
The next thing to do is to ground the two-way manifold to the chassis of the van. It's the same way I grounded the consumer unit to the chassis of the van, so if you click up around here somewhere, there's a link to that video if you want to go watch it, and that's exactly what I'm going to do with the two-way manifold. I already have it done, so I'll just talk you through the process and explain to you how I've done it. So this is the two-way manifold, and as you can see I have the 6mm earthing cable connected to the two-way manifold using a bolt, and there's a lock nut on the back of it, and I also have a washer there. So I'll zoom in and you can have a closer look at that. There. And then what I did was I ran that down to the bottom down here, and then I bolted that to the chassis of the van. So I drilled back the plywood, and then I used a wire brush and I scraped back the paint, and then used two washers and a self-tapping roofing screw, and then I connected that to the chassis of the van. So now, as you can see, there it is. Two-way manifold is now grounded to the chassis of the van. So that's another job complete. So let's get under the van and I will show you how they've installed the heat shield and how the exhaust pipe has been extended 700mm past the LPG tank. Here we are under the van, and as you can see, the heat plate has now been installed. You can see it there where my foot is, and it's coming down. It's connected to the center beam there, and it drops down, goes down at an angle, and then it's connected to the bolts that are coming from the LPG tank. You can see it there. And now you can also see how the exhaust pipe has been extended 700 mil past the LPG tank. So where the LPG tank stops, you then have to extend the exhaust pipe 700 mil past that. So they were the two big jobs that I had to get done, and I like the way they actually ran the heat shield under the gas bottle, so that gas bottle is completely protected. So that's it, and that is now all the jobs completed. Also, another thing you need to do is you need to put in dropout vents in your van if you've got gas in it. That means if there's ever a leak, that you will have the dropout vents, and the LPG gas will actually drop out through the vents because it falls to the floor. I'll just show you what the dropout vents look like, and I've got two of them in the van. I've got one right beside the water heater, and I have one directly below the 2-burner hob. So I'll just show you now. So there's one, and that is directly below the 2-burner hob, and then the other one is there. You can see it there, and that's directly below the connection for the copper pipe and the water heater. Those dropout vents are very important to remember, and that's it. That's everything you need to do for your gas install to get certified by a registered gas installer. So what you have to remember is you have to remember to be mindful of putting switches or sockets beside your appliances, and you need to put in heat shields around your appliances. Also, you need to have your gas bottle protected with a heat shield, and you need to extend your exhaust pipe 700 mil past the end of your gas tank. That's only if your gas tank is running parallel with your exhaust pipe, like mine was, and the exhaust pipe ended exactly where the gas tank ended. Also, another thing is you need a carbon monoxide alarm and a fire alarm. So they're the things you have to remember. And the last thing, ground your manifold. So ground your two-way manifold. They're all the things I had to do in order to get the certification for the gas installs. So that means that I can now send it off to the insurance company and get the full insurance. So I'm very happy with that. It's been a long time coming, a lot of hard work, but I got there in the end. And that's the main thing, just to stick with it, and you'll get there. You'll get there also. So I hope this has been some help with your van build, and if you've got any questions, if you need any help or any advice, just drop a comment in the comment section below this video. I'll do my best to answer. And if you like the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. Also, click the notification bell icon. That means you'll be the first to be notified for future videos in the van build series. That's the end of this episode. Thanks a million for watching. I'll see you again soon.